Thank you, Sophia. Now, the Labour Party has blamed the Tories, they've blamed the French, and they've even blamed Brexit for the boom in illegal crossings to the United Kingdom. But today, in a fresh twist to the ongoing border farce, the Prime Minister has blamed the weather. There were 60 so-called red days identified by the Met Office between January the 1st and April the 30th, when factors such as wind speed, wave height and the expectation of rain meant crossings were classed as likely or highly likely by officials. There you go. If all else fails, we're British. Let's blame it on the weather. Well, join me now is the Conservative MP for Mid Leicestershire, Peter Bedford, who's also today signed a motion with Rupert Lowe calling for the mass deportation of all illegal immigrants. Before that, Mr. Bedford, if I could ask for your comments on the situation around the ongoing border chaos. It's all about the weather. Blame the weather. There's too much good weather. Watch this space. In a minute, they'll probably be blaming climate change. We can't do anything about it. It's because of the weather.
Well, there's always an excuse, isn't there? I mean, clearly the last government made some mistakes in this area, and I was elected as a Conservative MP. I'm a new Conservative MP, so I want to bring some new ideas to the table. That's why I'm signing up to Rupert Lowe's early day motion on this. There's always an excuse, isn't there? The weather, legal loopholes, the French. What else? We've got to sort this problem out. People in this country want real action on this crisis, and it is a crisis.
And I'll be joined by Tony Smith in the next hour, the former Director General of the UK Border Force. He's got some very good ideas how we can sort this, which seems pretty easy. Brings you back to the question, Peter Bedford, if it's not a case of there's a way, is there a will? Is there a will to clamp down? A lot of people are feeling that the government are caught in the headlights. With the Conservative Party, there were two parties on Brexit, a Remain camp, a Brexit camp. Is the simple fact of the matter, half of the Labour Party know they've got to do something about this, or they are sunk. The red wall, the MPs there, they'll be done for. The other half actually probably welcome mass migration with open arms. Sir Keir Starmer, lest we forget, campaigned for mass movement of people. He campaigned to cancel Brexit for 3 years. Is that the problem? The Labour Party is two parties on this issue.
Well, clearly the government is divided on this. The last Conservative government tried to bring in a deterrent here, the Rwanda bill. One of the first things this government did was scrap that deterrent. And that is why we're seeing these illegal boat crossings rise week after week. Just at the weekend, we saw over 1,000 crossed in a single day because there is no deterrent. And that is why I'm working with independent MPs like Rupert Lowe, with the DUP, with fellow Conservative colleagues to ensure that we've got robust action on this, because the British people are crying out for an end to this crisis.
OK, so let's now focus on this motion that's been tabled, a mass deportation motion. 13 MPs have signed it, mostly Conservatives and a couple of Ulster Unionists. Tell me, what's motivated you to sign Rupert Lowe's motion?
Well, it's quite clear to me and to my constituents and indeed the public at large that this country has a problem with illegal migration. We have people coming to the country that have no right to be here. They shouldn't even be allowed into British waters, let alone allowed to land and stay here. So the British people are crying out for robust action and removing those that shouldn't even be here. It shouldn't even be a contentious issue, should it? They shouldn't be here. They're illegal to be here. Therefore, they should be removed. And that would be the ultimate deterrent to ensuring that we restore control over our borders once again.
And I'm just looking at some data on this now. It's funny because a lot of people think this is a fringe issue. In actual fact, when you put it to the public, particularly around the deportation of foreign criminals, there's a pretty big rump of support for this notion. It's about 85% of the electorate now are considering this as a notion. Only a few months ago, perhaps, Mr. Bedford, this would have been considered a bit spicy for many. It would have been considered a bit far out there, Trump on steroids. Do you think the public mood is shifting?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is common sense. I've been calling for this before I was an MP, that we need more robust borders, we need greater action. I mean, I've asked in Parliament just recently, the government need to keep all options on the table. What we've seen over the last number of years is institutions, the Home Office clearly isn't fit for purpose. The judiciary in this country are liberal and they try to frustrate any attempts by government to deport those that shouldn't be here. So we need fundamental reform. And that could be in the case, in this situation, of coming out of the ECHR or even legislating to remove ourselves from those international obligations on migration. Everything needs to be on the table as we try and get a handle of this crisis.
And let's face it, logistically, this would be a Goliath of a policy. Millions of people, millions and millions, not billions of pounds. There'd be all sorts of red tape. As you said, the ECHR, the human rights lawyers will be licking their lips. So, and even Mr. Lowe admits in this motion, there's very little chance of this being passed into legislation, certainly in the term of this government. But it's not just about that, is it? It's about trying to send out a message you believe that people have had enough.
Absolutely. A lot of times in Parliament, we use these motions like early day motions or adjournment debates or Westminster Hall debates to stimulate that debate, to get that public conversation going. So by Rupert raising this early day motion, many of my Conservative colleagues, a lot of new sound, proper Conservatives elected at last election, people like myself, Bradley Thomas, Lewis Cocking, we are proper Conservatives. We want to deal with this issue because we accept the last government made many mistakes on, but we want to see the government taking the action that is necessary. And all options need to be on the table as we address that.
What would you say to the inevitable criticism, Mr. Bedford, that this is racist? This rounding up of millions of people and sending them back to where they came from feels very right-wing, far right. No doubt they will throw that badge at you. Have you thought about that?
It's common sense. It's quite easy in this day and age to band around the racism card, right? This is a matter of being legal and not illegal. The people that should not be here, they haven't come through the legal routes, they haven't got a visa, they haven't got a right to be here, shouldn't be here. At the end of the day, this is about upholding the rule of law. It isn't about race, it isn't about colour, it isn't about background. It's about what's legal and what isn't legal. And that's the approach I take.
Peter Bedford, is there something going on here within the Conservative ranks? Quite clearly, as I alluded to before, two Conservative parties certainly on Brexit, and yourself and the Conservative colleagues who've signed up to this motion are clearly moving towards that rump, moving down towards the Rupert Lowe position. Might this get you in trouble with Kemi Badenoch? This is certainly not Conservative policy.
Look, I was elected by the residents of Mid Leicestershire, and I was elected to represent them in Parliament. So my primary loyalty is the residents of Mid Leicestershire. As you know, the Conservative Party is currently going through a policy review phase. So we're looking at all options on policy review, and it's for people like me as a backbench Conservative MP and my colleagues to make the case for what policy we believe the Conservative Party and the opposition should be adopting going forward. Now, I've clearly articulated my view today on your show quite clearly where I want the policy to go. And it's my job as a backbencher to persuade colleagues in my own party to adopt that position.
OK, Peter Bedford, thanks for joining us. One of 13 MPs calling for the mass deportation of millions, in fact, all illegal immigrants.